A road racer is fairly simple to describe. They're an open wheel and/or road course sort of driver. No crap. Cue the organizations of Formula 1, IndyCar, well most of the time at least, IMSA, etc. For the NASCAR fans out there, everyone knows that they do occasionally pop up to some road courses like Watkins Glen and Sonoma, and many of these races sometimes turn out better than the oval races. Because of the low number of road course races each year, their appeal can attract many drivers from outside the top 3 national series, as it's like an infrequent but very big opportunity to try something else if someone is in, let's say, IMSA or something. There, we get to the term road ringer, which describes a driver that specializes in turning both left and right in stock cars. There's actually quite a history when it comes to road course ringers. Current Xfinity Series veteran AJ Allmendinger used to do it back when he raced in open-wheel cars in the early to mid-2000s, and he would go on to drive fully in NASCAR. Some other notable names are Boris Said, Andy Lally, and Max Pappas. Arguably considered the greatest road ringer in NASCAR history, Dan Gurney won the 24 Hours of Le Mans twice, a Formula 1 Grand Prix 4 times, and came just short of the Indy 500 with 2 runner-ups and 3 podiums in 9 starts. In NASCAR, he made just 16 starts in the top series, and he won 9 of them, which include 4 wins in a row at the old Riverside road course, and in that second one, he lapped the whole damn field. Canadian Formula 1 champion Jacques Villeneuve, who I put down as number 1 on a past top 10 list that I did a while back, took a shot at NASCAR in 2007, and for 5 straight years in the Xfinity Series, back then Nationwide Series, he ran at Road America and Circuit Gilles Villeneuve in Montreal every year. He would never visit victory lane despite many close calls, eventually moving on before making a return to the NASCAR Wheel and Euro Series in 2019, and then qualifying to the 2022 Daytona 500. Every name I've said so far has etched their way into the history books as some of the greater road racers to participate in NASCAR. However, there's one that I still haven't mentioned yet, and in my opinion, I think they are the best road ringer to ever run a NASCAR road course race. And yes, we're getting back into the Canadian territory like some of my first few videos, and yes, he's on the thumbnail of one of them. Introducing the one and only open wheel legend himself, from IMSA to Trans Am to Le Mans, and the top Canadian NASCAR road ringer, Ron Fellows. Born in Windsor, Ontario in 1959, auto racing was right off the bat a love to Fellows at just age 4. During this time, there was another Canadian racing legend that caught his young eyes. Gilles Villeneuve, father of eventual friend Jacques Villeneuve, had gone through as many financial bumps as you can think of in his early career, originally being a top snowmobile racer, and then impressing people in the lower tiers behind Formula 1 with many championships. His opportunity finally came to fruition in 1977, being hired by defending Formula 1 champion James Hunt to drive a Marlboro Team McLaren car for 3 races, finishing just outside the top 10 twice, and actually having a terrifying retirement in one of them, as a crash involving him sent his car into the grandstands, killing one spectator. The next year, Villeneuve was signed by Scuderia Ferrari, and although he faced a lot of struggles in the first half, he started to slowly gain pace, and ironically enough, he won his home Grand Prix in just his second run at the track. He would fall short of the championship to his teammate in 1979, and after a few more years of many retirements, he would tragically die in a crash in 1982 during qualifying for the Belgian Grand Prix. His legacy was fulfilled with the Montreal road course being renamed Circuit Gilles Villeneuve in his honor. You'll be hearing that track a lot later on, so stay tuned. With what he calls the biggest collection of Gilles Villeneuve memorabilia in Canada, along with attending several Canadian Grand Prix, Fellows had one big goal: to win a race at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. But of course, a racing career had to come first. We'll quickly get Fellows' quote-unquote actual open-wheel stuff out of the way first. For a couple of years, it was go-karts, Formula 1600, and Formula 2000, now known as Formula F. Lack of funds caused him to swap to working with gas pipelines for years, and it seemed as though he would never get another chance. That changed in the early 1980s when a driving school instructor by the name of Richard Spenard came into his life and helped him rise back up, beginning with runs at an organization called Players Ltd/GM Motorsport. He moved on to Trans Am racing by the late 80s, and through the entirety of the 90s, he scored 19 wins in 95 starts. In 1998, he signed on as a member for Corvette Racing, where he would go on to run a bunch of American Le Mans races, now known as IMSA, scoring multiple championships along with 2 class wins in the 24 Hours of Le Mans competition. He continued to have success before moving on to more of a mentor and teacher role to many other drivers, which includes being a part of the Corvette Racing program, with a car that was literally named after him, running a go-kart championship, and helping with the rise of Canadian Tire Motorsport Park in Ontario. At this point, you can probably say that Fellows had established quite a career on the open wheel side of motorsports. With everything else out of the way, it's now time to get into the main focus of the video, and what we basically haven't discussed yet, the NASCAR side of Fellows' long career. Grab some popcorn and get comfy, because this should be one hell of a Canadian ride. You see what I did there? Fellows first got into NASCAR in 1995 as NASCAR Racing, a Canadian racing team from the 90s that participated in both NASCAR and Indy Lights, signed into a one-race deal in the number 68 Ford in the Winston Cup Series, and that race was going to be at Watkins Glen. He only managed to qualify in 36 out of 40 cars, and he wouldn't get to finish due to a cylinder problem, DNFing in 35th. After taking a year off to focus on the 1996 Trans Am Championship, Fellows returned to NASCAR action in 1997, taking a shot at both the Busch Series and the Craftsman Truck Series. In the trucks, he signed with Hess Racing to drive the number 48 Chevrolet in 5 races, while in Busch, he was given a one-race deal back at the Glen with Phoenix Racing the number 4 Chevrolet. That one Busch race saw him qualify in 3rd place behind 2 drivers by the names of Joe Nemechek and Terry Labonte. He looked pretty good within the first couple of laps, but on an early restart due to a crash, Fellows' car suddenly ran into a transmission problem, putting him a couple laps down. He wouldn't be able to rebound for anywhere close to his qualifying position, coming home 2 laps down in 25th out of 42 cars. Down in the Truck Series, funny enough, Fellows' first start was actually not on a road course, rather at the Texas Motor Speedway. He qualified 15th out of 33 trucks, and the top 15 was pretty much his pace for the entire race. Unfortunately, an incident with Stacey Compton on lap 124 of 167 would damage his number 48 truck enough to make him only finish in 25th. His second race was at the Topeka Road Course, where he qualified 6th, but only lasted 12 laps due to a brake problem. Fellows seemed to have absolutely no luck for the most part, and things weren't looking good for either him nor his team. However, that all changed at Watkins Glen in August. Fellows qualified on pole with a speed of 117.367 miles per hour and a time of 75.149 seconds. He led the first 14 laps and fell back during a series of consistent cautions, which kept holding him back just inside the top 10 for a while. Points later, Jack Sprague dominated the remainder of the race, at least until the final couple of laps. With fuel strategy being the key to a good finishing position, Fellows hoped to be a lucky man as he was making his way up through the top 5 with an incredible pace. He climbed to 3rd with about 15 laps remaining, and then jumped to 2nd with an absolute dive bomb in the bus chicane.
He's running awfully good, and here he goes, Fellows, to the inside. Can he make the corner? Yes, he did.
That was pretty. He went through, and Rutman had to lock up the brakes a little bit to negotiate the corner, so Rutman falls into the clutches of Mike Bliss.
While catching up to Sprague, he was almost caught by the curbs through turn 3, but he managed to keep the truck straight. As soon as the next lap began, Fellows made the dive to first on the front stretch, and after that, he set sail for the checkered flag.
Job of saving it, now he takes a look for the lead. Oh, he's got it. Classic pass at Watkins Glen. Set it up the front straightaway. Climb on those brakes going into 1, and we got a brand new leader. What it mattered most.
Ron Fellows told us both in Texas that he would love to do something with NASCAR next year, be it a truck, the Craftsman Truck Series, the Busch Series, Winston Cup.
He had trouble at Texas with the blown motor. He had mechanical problems at Topeka. 25th and 33rd certainly don't speak to this guy's ability to drive a car or a truck. Today, he's been the top cat here at the Parts America 150. And now it begins to look like he's going to make it. Benny, here's your checkered flag for Ron Fellows, who started it from the pole, milked the fuel for all it was worth, and gets a fist in the air as he wins his first ever truck race.
He is a happy camper. Wow, I made it.
2 more races of participation saw Fellows finish 11th at Sonoma and 22nd at Mesa Marin in Bakersfield. Considering his later Truck Series tenure ended up being a lot shorter in comparison to his runs in the Cup and Xfinity Series, we'll get the truck stuff wrapped up right now. In 1998, Fellows returned for another part-time stint in the number 48 Hess Racing truck, and ironically enough, His best finish came at a non-road course, being another run at Texas. Although he got himself in an incident 67 laps into the race, the damage to his back end wasn't severe enough to eliminate him, and after getting through multiple late accidents, he came home in 7th place. Every other race was a disappointing finish outside the top 30, whether he would get caught in an incident or his car would run into problems. Fellows made a switch to NASCAR Motorsports in 1999, driving the number 87 Chevrolet and running in 4 races. His first run at Portland saw him qualify second, lead 41 laps, have an extremely close battle with none other than future series champion Greg Biffle for the win, and eventually finish in 3rd. The next race at Watkins Glen was another fabulous showing of Fellows' pure road racing talent, as he scored the pole, led 21 laps, and chased Mike Wallace en route to his 2nd career series victory.
Now he's running in 9th, but you're looking at the man of the moment. It is Ron Fellows. For the 2nd time in 3 years, he'll look at the checkered flag and win here at Watkins Glen. I don't think he's happy enough. They're happy. The window neck comes down. And poor Ted Christopher has to watch the end of the race from stalled in turn number 1. Great run for Ron Fellows and his AER manufacturing team.
Fellows made 2 more starts that year, with a best finish of 15th at Topeka. You know, I'm probably not saying that at all correct, but whatever. He capped off his Truck Series tenure with 1 final start in 2000, or in other words, 2 attempts? Surprisingly enough, he failed to qualify at Watkins Glen in the same truck he had originally won in with Nemco. Lucky for him, however, Conley Racing offered him to drive the number 7 truck in favor of original driver Darren Law. He accepted the change and qualified 26th, although he was sent to the rear. He persevered with terrific fashion, patiently moving his way up through the field, finding himself in the top 5 on a late restart, and coming home in 3rd place. Fellows never returned to the Truck Series after this race, as he had found more success and opportunities in the Cup Series and the Busch Series. Let's head back in time just a little bit. In that same year, 1998, when he struggled on the road courses and trucks, Fellows also struggled in a similar form with 2 starts in Cup for American Equipment Racing. That's a very creative name. Funny enough, although only finishing 36th at New Hampshire, his best finish still ended up being on an oval. He came pretty close to a potential win at Watkins Glen as he started alongside Jeff Gordon of all people, and looked good early on, but a big oof by a crew member relating to the axles sent him packing. However, all this was completely different in comparison to his 1 Busch Series start at Watkins Glen, driving for Nemco Motorsports with that same number 87. He qualified 2nd, starting alongside a fellow open-wheel superstar, Boris Said. I'm gonna just let you watch the entirety of lap 1 because it was straight up chaos.
These 2 road racers right on the front row.
Boris knows what that pole's all about, uses it to good advantage, makes the turn in the Zippo Chevrolet into the right-hander and has the early lead over Fellows. And we've got trouble right off the bat. Sid has spun off. The pole sitter has spun, and he took with him, I believe, the 23 of Lance Hooper. But for Boris Said, the pole sitter, trouble early. A couple of other cars got involved. Said got the worst of it, and Fellows comes out with a big lead. And John Nemechek's number 87. What an incredible bad break for the pole sitter. Now they go 3 wide into the inner loop, and that spells trouble.
Just look at that. There we got another car. That was the 10 car. Phil Parsons just spun and hit the inside wall. They were about 5 or 6 wide coming down the backstretch, and we all know that it's not the way to get around Watkins Glen or get set up for that inner loop.
Big, heavy cars on a twisting and turning road course with a lot of drivers who do this only once a year. On the first lap, it spells an abundance of trouble.
Fellows led 54 of 82 laps and had the occasional battle for the lead. With 15 laps remaining, rookie Dale Earnhardt Jr., yeah, that's pretty weird to say if you think about it, held the lead, but it didn't take long for Fellows to catch up and take it away for the time being. A late restart was needed, and after making a mistake in the first turn, Jr. fell back, sending Fellows away as Mike McLaughlin wouldn't be able to catch the Canadian.
He said, "I'm not listening to my crew chief. I want to win this thing."
And he gets off the track right there and just got overhauled by Mike McLaughlin. He was trying to get back in the lead there. Looked like he drove off into turn 1 a little too hard and got a little too high. Did a great job saving the car, but in the sacrifice of a couple positions.
Nemechek gave him the call and the opportunity. And here comes Ron Fellows to win it at Watkins Glen, New York. Checkered flag is up, and it's history. The Busch Series has its first ever Canadian winner.
He's pretty excited. He He was pretty calm when we talked to him earlier, but he's pretty excited now.
Winter net is coming down. Celebration begins for Ron Fellows, the winner of the Lysol 250. McLaughlin comes home second. Lewis will be third. David Green advances to fourth in his return drive in the Busch Series.
In 1999, Fellows returned with Nemco for another Cup and Busch and also Trucks weekend at Watkins Glen. In the Busch Series, he claimed the pole and led 52 laps and seemed en route to back-to-back victories at the track. But this time around, Dale Earnhardt Jr. got his redemption on the final lap.
Through the S's. Dale Jr. has to try and get a good run going down the back straightaway. Will the Fellows take the defensive inside line this time? He'll have to. He'll have to do that. He'll have to make Earnhardt go the long way. Look at that. Low touch. Just switch it around. Dale Jr. came right up on the back bumper, through the inner loop. A lap and a half to go. He may not have enough fuel in the pickup to make it, and here comes Dale. Look at this run. He's got a run. Dale Jr. has got him. He's under braking. Fellows doesn't have enough tire, and he may not have enough fuel. But Earnhardt locked up the right front. Oh, they touch. Big touch. Contact heading into the S's. You don't want to do it there. Too much guardrail. Look at the way this turns into a tunnel. Lap car up ahead. I was listening for the motor to cut out. Didn't hear it. But right now, Dale Jr. has got about a 7-car length lead under braking. Fellows has been very fast through the inner loop. Look at this. He closes right up. He's only got a few more corners. He's got really one more straightaway to take a shot and keep history for Ron Fellows. Dale could deny the sweep. Fellows won the pole in both the Craftsman Truck Series and the Busch race. He won the truck race yesterday. He could make the sweep if he can get around Dale Jr. One more corner. I don't think he can do it. There's just not enough time. Now look at Ron, way too fast into that turn 10. Dale Earnhardt Jr. is going to pick up career victory number 10, his first on a road course, and he's going to deny Ron Fellows the clean sweep at Watkins Glen. What a finish.
In the Cup Series race, Fellows started 7th and led 3 laps. He had good pace all day, and on a late restart, he sat in 2nd place behind, again, Jeff Gordon. He wouldn't be able to match Gordon's obvious talent, but regardless, it was another phenomenal performance by Fellows. It was the same old thing in 2000 as Fellows scored the pole in the Busch Series race, led 36 laps, and held off Butch Leitzinger on a late restart. Yeah, I definitely said that one right too.
Through turn 11 for the final time. A 3rd yesterday in the truck race, and 1st today in the Lysol 200. A great run for Butch Leitzinger, even greater for Kevin Harvick. Listen to the groove. Are they happy?
Oh man, what a great job these guys did.
Crew all weekend. I mean, even in the truck race, you guys are the best.
In the Cup Series race, it was an entirely different story as Fellows only qualified 40th and lasted just 21 laps before losing the engine. Aside from the Watkins Glen weekend, 2000 was actually looking to be the beginning of a promising time in Fellows' NASCAR career. He had been in contact with none other than Dale Earnhardt himself to drive for his team full-time after 2001. Now, it's unclear whether or not this was to be for the Cup Series or the Busch Series, although likely the latter. Sadly, just before the deal could be properly executed, Earnhardt's tragic death in the 2001 Daytona 500 would keep Fellows from attempting any opportunity of a full season. That right there is what I would call one of the more underrated what-ifs in NASCAR history. Just imagine if Fellows had managed to build himself a NASCAR career after all of that open-wheel success. I have no doubt he would have been quite a helping hand in building DEI into one of the greater teams in the sport, especially had Earnhardt not died. And especially on the road courses. It's hard to say whether or not he could have been the replacement for Steve Park considering his poor luck with injuries and his eventual departure halfway through 2003, but I suppose you could use your imagination of a team of Dale Earnhardt Jr., Michael Waltrip, and Ron Fellows. Despite all of this, Fellows still managed to get involved with DEI in 2003 and 2004 in the Cup Series, as Ty Norris remembered the whole situation and signed him to drive the number 1 car at Sonoma and Watkins Glen in 03, and just the Glen in 04. Along with being a road course coach to his teammates in Junior and Waltrip. At Sonoma, he led 21 laps as he took advantage of a battle between Robbie Gordon and Kevin Harvick on a restart. He felt he had controlled the race, but a caution threw him back to just inside the top 30, eventually finishing 7th. At the Glen, he qualified 18th, but had handling problems all day, finishing 38th. In 2004 at the Glen, Fellows had to start from the very back due to a cancellation of qualifying giving lineup spots by owner points, and he didn't disappoint in making his way up to the front. By the end, he was right there behind Tony Stewart with pace for a potential battle. It wouldn't happen though, as his car just couldn't find anything else after already wearing itself the hell out from the incredible charge. He would come home second. The rest of Fellows' runs in the Cup Series, which spread from 2005 to 2013, weren't really anything special. He drove at Sonoma, Watkins Glen in 05 and 06 for PPI Motorsports, finishing inside the top 10 in both, but losing his position at the Glen due to a penalty for illegal passing. After the team got shut down and Fellows was left without a ride, he signed with Hall of Fame Racing and came close to winning twice, but lost to pit stops and penalties. He returned to DEI in 08 with a best finish of 13th at the Glen, and made some starts with Phoenix Racing, Tommy Baldwin Racing, and Circle Sport within the next 5 years, but never collected anything solid, ending his Cup Series tenure with a 22nd place finish at Sonoma and a 35th place finish at the Glen. At this point, it's obvious that I haven't mentioned anything at all about Fellows' further time in the Busch Series. Well, that's where we're about to end off, and I chose to save it for last because it's a hell of a lot better than his final runs in the Cup Series. He took a break from the Busch Series in 03 and 04 to focus on his runs with DEI. In 2005, Nemco Motorsports called him back for a run in the same old 87 car at the Mexico City road course race, qualifying 5th but wrecking out over halfway through the race. Curb Racing would sign him to a deal for the Watkins Glen race, but the car would fall into an overheating problem 36 laps in. The year 2006 saw Fellows be signed by Kevin Harvick Incorporated, where he would drive at Mexico City and Watkins Glen, scoring a best finish at 9th in the latter race. A deal was renewed for the 2007 season, and this is where things get interesting. To quickly recap before the interesting stuff, Fellows finished only 33rd in a rough race in Mexico, and at the Glen, he led 11 laps but lost a ton of spots after an incident on the last lap with Scott Pruitt. Now, where things get interesting is the fact that he chose 3 tracks to run at in 2007. I've only said 2 of them so far. So, remember earlier when I said that Fellows had a goal of winning a race at Surrey Gilles Villeneuve in Montreal, Canada? Well, in the prior year of 06, NASCAR announced the Nationwide Series would move up north and race at the track with the name Napa Auto Parts 200 in August. Fellows immediately jumped on the opportunity of racing in what was now basically his home track. As most Canadian NASCAR fans likely remember, old video, the inaugural race at CGV was a barn burner of controversy and chaos. Fellows qualified 3rd, led 4 laps, and remained up front for the most part, but was caught in the hands of a separate part of the Robbie Gordon-Marcus Ambrose fiasco. I'll keep saying it time and time again, Robbie Gordon is the real winner.
Pruitt for 4th place, Pruitt shuts the door on him, Harvick hits him back, and he gets Fellows! Big pile up down in turn 2.
Took out his teammate, took out his own car, yo.
They're still running into each other trying to get through it. Brad Coleman involved, Ron Hornaday involved, and up front, Robbie Gordon by Ambrose, who goes back on him. Caution flags waving. There it is. Couldn't see that coming, could you?
Fellows may have failed in his first try at the track he dreamed of winning at, but honestly, maybe it was a good thing to happen to him, because in 2008, his second attempt, which would be his only start of the season, would finally be his dream come true, only this time with a different team, Junior Motorsports. This time around, it was looking like quite the race based on who was in it. A couple of fellow Canadians, including multi-time Champ Car winner Patrick Carpentier, Formula 1 champion Jacques Villeneuve, ironic how that comes full circle, eh? And a set of Pinty Series drivers, or Canadian Tire Series at the time, which include DJ Kennington, Andrew Ranger, Wheeler and Trevor Boyes, Don Thompson Jr., and Scott Steckley. On the side of the Americans and other people, it gets even crazier. Marcus Ambrose, Ron Hornaday Jr., Boris Said, Carl Edwards, Greg Biffle, Clint Boyer, Brad Keselowski, Joey Logano, David Rudiman, Max Pappas, and so many other drivers. If you heard that lineup nowadays, good God almighty, that's incredible. If Fellows wanted any shot of a win, he'd have to get everything out of that number 5 car. He qualified 6th, and the entire race is pretty much a weather fiasco, as rain remained either close or on top of the track. For some time, the rain didn't hit the track as the race went on, and Fellows kept himself inside the top 5 for the most part. By lap 7, the rain had arrived, and a downpour ensued. You would think that around this time, considering it's 2008, the race would likely not run at all. But nope. This race would go down in history as the first points-paying race to use Goodyear rain tires as the rain calmed down and racing was all clear to continue. Cue the Carl Edwards sweeper meme. Fellows continued his top 5 and top 10 pace as Marcus Ambrose was pretty much dominating the race. With incidents for Justin Marks and Max Pappas changing things up, the rain started to get a little heavier. Green flag pit stops began to ensue just past the halfway point, with Ambrose coming in on lap 42. This is when things would begin to suddenly collapse for Ambrose, and Fellows just so happened to find himself in an extremely lucky spot, as Mother Nature and the racing gods came together to finally give Fellows what he had wanted all this time.
Oh no, you aren't going to believe what I'm going to tell you folks. Marcus Ambrose is getting a speeding ticket. He was too fast coming into pit lane. He's going to have to come back in. And 99, we're being told. David Rudman.
You got to do a pass through.
Unbelievable. Into pit lane.
Trying to slow it down. You can see he's got the tires locked up.
Rear tires completely stopped. I mean, that's...
He couldn't get it done.
Hey, a rule's a rule, but under those conditions, you'd think there'd be a little bit of a break, but
well,
understand it.
He is going to have to do a pass through. There is Scott Wimmer off and still managed to stay out front, but then the trouble. He goes too fast into pit lane, has to serve a pass-through penalty, but believe it or not, despite all this, with the heavy downpour and all the other problems everybody else is having, Marcus is in third, albeit 49 seconds behind the leader. And oh my, this is the one thing Ron Fellows doesn't want to hear. Full course caution has come out because of heavy rain. The drivers simply cannot see right now. Fellows loses a 43-second lead.
That's amazing. And when you know Ambrose is sitting there just licking his chops, he's like, okay, I want to race this guy. Let's go.
Oh, it's over? They just said it's over. All right, so it was a great race, a lot of fun, and see y'all next week.
Boy, that's the way to break the news, huh, fellas?
Well, take a look as the 5-car has been told. In fact, they got the word before we got the word. So congratulations are going to go to Ron Fellows and the number 5 team as he picks up his 4th career Nationwide Series win, the other 3 at Watkins Glen. We'll talk to him right here at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve when we return in a very soggy but a very happy day for Ron Fellows. Stay with us.
Getting his composure right now, gathering his thoughts. He's a winner again in the Nationwide Series for the 4th time. You can see the emotion on his face. This is a track where he has wanted to win his entire career. Gilles Villeneuve was his hero. He's finally won here. Fellows climbing from the car right now, and what a wild day. How would you describe it?
That is difficult. I mean, it's, you know, we've had a little bit of that in over in France with the Corvette Le Mans, but first, you know, Dale Jr., thank you, GoDaddy.com, Chevrolet, and the fans here. They stuck it out the whole time. That's just amazing. These guys are great. This was good fun. Now I got to try to beg Dale Jr. to let me run next week.
Well, he had done it. Fellows had finally accomplished his dream of winning at the one track he had always wanted to get the feet done at. A professional race win at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. The influence from Gilles Villeneuve, his death giving the track a new name, Fellows paying attention to his son Jacques and becoming friends with him, and fighting him en route to the end result that had come full circle. I said full circle, that's totally the shape of this track. But on a serious note, after years of such bumpy moments, whether it was winning a race or getting screwed over by something out of his control, the one win that Fellows wanted, or in his mind I suppose needed, had finally happened. What a ride. The remainder of his time in the Nationwide Series continued to remain with Junior Motorsports, as he drove with multiple numbers for the next 5 years, whether it was at Watkins Glen, Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, Road America, or Mid-Ohio. Out of all those 12 races, he finished runner-up twice, both at Road America, collected 6 top 5s and 8 top 10s. One of those runner-up finishes could arguably be considered a win for Fellows, as in 2011, he seemed to have the win in hand as Justin Allgaier lost fuel into a last-lap caution in a shocking turn of events, and he passed both him and Reed Sorensen to hold the lead. However, NASCAR claimed that he drove by them too fast, thus Sorensen was given the win. However, when I look back at what happened, Fellows looked to just simply be catching up to the pace car, and he slowed down right behind it. You can literally see everyone else get up to pretty much the exact speed he had when catching up to the pace car, so personally, I don't understand that one. Fellows even said afterwards that he felt like that he was the real winner, although at a later time he did change his mind. But me though, I'm gonna keep my opinion. That race should have been the record breaker, which at the time was the most wins on a road course in the series. And it would have continued his record of being the best foreign driver winner-wise. It sucks, but obviously the result can't be changed now. Again, it just sucks. After finishing only 25th in the series' inaugural race in Mid-Ohio, Fellows moved on from the team and pretty much called it quits on his racing career, albeit making one start in Trans Am in 2014. So, what can we take from all of this? Well, it's pretty simple to me. What a career by this man. Years of dominating in sports car racing and years of being an absolute ace on the road courses in NASCAR. Fellows currently holds the record for the most wins by a driver outside the United States in all 3 of the top national series with 6 altogether, and he deserves it rightfully so. He was a wheelman that was not shy of going for no matter the circumstances. He definitely cared for his equipment and his team no matter what team it was, but he knew that those daring moves were his only shot at glory. Considering when you add up all those years they raced in NASCAR, which is exactly 17 years of being a road course ringer, that is absolutely insane. And yeah, there are other drivers that may either have come close to that number, or maybe they have even more than what he has, but honestly, I think Fellows may just so happen to be the best one. That journey is just incredible. Outside of his racing career, as mentioned earlier in the video, Fellows continues to do his part in helping out with the Corvette racing program. He remains a key factor in the building success of Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. He was honored with the Order of Canada in 2019 for his work in the motor racing industry. He remains a man of supporting charity, and he has a goal of bringing the Cup Series up to Canada someday. Ron, I just wanted to say that have you ever come across this? You were one of the greatest to ever hit the road courses, especially in NASCAR. And I, along with many others, thank you for your contributions to the industry in and from Canada. We may never see a driver in person like you ever again. So anyways, that's gonna do it for this one. Got any thoughts? Leave them in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe, give this a thumbs up, and even share this with your buddies. My name's Reegser, or Reegs for short, and thanks for watching. Have a good one.